Hello and welcome to the Good Human Show. This is our deep dive with founders and activists at the intersection of conscious living and planet activism. The Good Human app is a one-stop shop for sustainable products and ethical brands. Download the Good Human app in the Apple App Store and be sure to follow Emroce at Emroce Swimwear and follow Good Human at Get _Good Human, both on Instagram. I'd also like to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Probst. I am a content creator and curator for Good Human with a focus on the slow fashion industry. I help vet the brands that we bring into the app to ensure that they are aligned with the Good Human mission. This allows us to continue making eco-friendly shopping easier and better for both people and the planet. Today, we're sitting down with Emma La Rocca, the founder of sustainable swimwear brand Emroce, which specializes in zero waste patterns. Emma researches, designs, makes patterns, cuts, and sews everything for her brand. She is truly a queen of all trades. When she's not sewing, she's either learning from podcasts or dancing to techno. So there is a lot of intention and positivity imbued in every garment. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Emma.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited. And so to start off, you are a zero waste fashion brand. How would you describe what that means to someone who's never heard of that concept before?
So basically, the idea is to not throw any fabric away. So either you're using other people's scraps and making stuff out of that, like Zero Waste Daniel does. Do you know about him? I think
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
knows him. Or as we do, we plan the patterns so that we're not actually creating any waste. So with normal pattern making, you're usually throwing away about 15 to 40% of the fabric. Um, Whereas with zero waste pattern making, we're planning the patterns while we're designing so that they all fit together like a jigsaw or like a mosaic, and there's no fabric in between the pattern pieces to throw away. Yeah, so if you put that into a larger scale, like a fast fashion company, if they're throwing away the minimum, which is 15% of their fabric, if they're making like 1,000 t-shirts of one size and each t-shirt takes 1 meter to make, they're throwing a minimum of 150 meters away of fabric that's never been used. There's a massive process to make that fabric, to farm the cotton if it's made of cotton. Often it's got plastics in it, a lot of chemicals to dye it, and it hasn't even been used. So I think it's really good to plan the patterns beforehand so that you're not ending up with all that waste, and you're saving money and saving the environment at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that that's so important. So it's a great business model and for so many reasons, right? So I would love to call up the app to show the brand page that we have for Emroche, and also show that we do have all of these products available where you can see what you have available on the website. And while we're looking at this, I would like to go a little deeper into this zero waste design process and why you feel this is so important to your brand ethos.
Well, so I design with the idea of like, okay, it's going to be zero waste. So I know what the final design is going to end up looking like, but I have to work within confined boundaries. I can't just make anything. I can't make like big curvy things. And well, you can work with curves. I've seen girls making zero waste circle skirts, for example, which is really impressive. Yeah, so you're kind of like going back and forth from the design to the zero waste pattern, and they both help in the design process. And I like working within these confines because it makes me more creative. You know, I can't do everything that I want to do. I'm forced to work in these confines, and I have to think outside the square, but at the same time as staying inside that square. Um, yeah, and like it it helps me to have these tight rules, like that everything has to be zero waste and what I make has to be functional. It has to be usable in the surf, my swimwear. It can't come off when you're surfing, you know? Um,
Right.
so basically, it means that I can't get pressured by everything else that's going on in the internet. I can't like just make any style. I can't put frills on things, and yeah, it just kind of keeps me in my place and means that I don't break the rules of sustainability.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love what you said about how it actually like amplifies your creativity because you would think, oh, well, I'm stuck in this little space. Like you would think it would be the opposite, but that's so cool that it like opens up these other like avenues for you and gives you that creative spark. I love that. And
Yeah,
I think that's how like for the design process, it's different for everyone. And you got to find what works for you, right?
yeah,
Awesome. And
totally.
so you've said that your vision is to prove to fast fashion companies that this method of working zero waste is economically and environmentally viable. Why do you think these brands aren't already embracing this concept?
I think they think it's too hard, you know, but it's actually not. It's pretty easy to work with zero waste patterns. You've just got to try it out. But also, once you've already started your brand, it's hard to then change what you're doing halfway through. Like, it's really hard, for example, to change your suppliers because you spend a lot of time researching where you're going to get your materials from, your threads from, your elastics from. And if they treat you good, your suppliers, you kind of just keep working with them. Then you can just, you know, put your orders in. But yeah, if you're going to suddenly change how you're making your patterns, you know, you're already busy work like fulfilling orders and stuff. Um, I think, yeah, I think people are just scared to make that change, and that's why I want to prove that this is environmentally and sorry, financially viable because I think that's the main thing for people that financially you're going to be saving a lot of money. I mean, 100 and yeah, 15% of your fabric minimum is not getting thrown away. That's a lot of money that you're saving, and the production process, like because you can't make big elaborate things, you can actually you can make anything with this with zero waste patterns, but often like with my stuff I keep things very very simple, so the production process is actually really fast and the cutting of the garments is faster because you're cutting two pieces out at the same time instead of one pattern piece and then another, and you're also not like having to sift through the waste and put that into the bin and then take your rubbish out, and you know you're not paying extra money for people to take your rubbish away. So yeah, I think um, I just need to prove it somehow. I think really like we need to get into some fast fashion companies and go, hey, this is how you could be working, and it would make you sustainable as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we're talking about like the financial viability, as we were going through some of those products that we have in the app, you might have been able to see, or viewers might have been able to see, that the price points are actually very reasonable. And I see one of the biggest criticisms for sustainable fashion is that it's too expensive, and
Mm.
therefore people feel that it's not accessible to everyone. But how do you navigate that when you're setting your prices?
Well, that's my true price. It's as I'm working, as I'm cutting and sewing, I'll time how long it takes me, and figure out the price from that. Um, it's important to me that people can afford sustainable fashion because I never grew up with a lot of money, so it was always, you know, just going to the op shops. But then for some things like swimwear and underwear, you don't really want to get that from the op shop. Sometimes you can, but yeah, just trying to keep it affordable is really important to me. Yeah, for everyone, because everyone needs to understand the importance of sustainable fashion. And I think when you buy one of your first eco garments, when you invest in that and you see the difference in buying an eco garment and a sustainable garment compared to a fast fashion garment, that's when you realize, that's what can really make the change for someone to keep on that path.
Yeah, and that's awesome that that's part of this whole brand that you've created. I love that. And I'm sure that your customers appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
um, so speaking about production, when you originally founded Emroche, the entire production was based in Italy, but now you're based in New Zealand. How would you compare the sustainability mindset in these two countries?
Yeah, so we've got some total huge differences, right, with our history and with our cultures. Um, when the Maori arrived in New Zealand almost 1,000 years ago, um, in Italy at that time, they already had running water to their houses in Rome, sometimes hot running water, and the Māori arrived here and it was just forest and birds. And by the time the Europeans arrived to New Zealand, 800 years later, the Māori had already seen that they'd wiped out some species. So they already had some tikanga, some protocols put in place where like you could only fish certain fish at a certain time of the year. And like your first fish you'd throw back to Tangaroa, the god of the sea. Um, and so that's like in our roots in New Zealand to look after the environment because the Māori already had that. Um, and in Italy, um, yeah, like when I arrived there, how long ago was it? It was in 2014. Um, the sustainable fashion movement had just started growing or started picking up pace with like the general public. Whereas in New Zealand, it had probably started 5 years earlier than that. So I kind of got there at a good time because there wasn't much sustainable fashion brands, and so they kind of just included me, even though I was a foreigner. They were like, "Yeah, we've got emroce here," so it was really helpful for me. Um, and and there's other like a lot of other sustainable brands there now, like Zero Baracento. They're also a zero waste fashion label, pretty well known. They've got 100-year-old fabric mills that have always been working in a sustainable way, and they still are. Um, yeah, and the fashion revolution movement is really growing there. We just have different views on fashion. Like in New Zealand, you can go to the op shop and or like there's a lot of secondhand stores, sorry, and a lot of people buy their clothes from them. And if someone asks you, "Oh, where'd you get that from?" "I got it from the op shop." "What a score!" In Italy, you if you told people you got your clothes from an op shop, you'd have to choose who you told. It's not like something that you'd skite about because Italians, they care about their fashion. They look great. They're so stylish. They yeah, like it's about looking clean and good all the time, and that kind of has a price. It means that you need to buy new clothes to look that clean and pristine. Um, but yeah, like I said, the movement's growing in Italy, and I have high hopes. And yeah, more brands and more discussion. There's more blogs about it. Yeah, so it's all
Yeah.
looking positive.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting how this culture that's so nature based, or more so, is the one that's more in tune with the sustainability movement. But I do hope that the Italian culture gets more into that as well as this movement continues to grow. And hopefully they'll be able to see that shopping secondhand can totally get you awesome stuff too. Like just because it's secondhand doesn't mean it's dirty or anything. Like I found some really awesome pieces secondhand shopping. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
they had like free secondhand shops over there because people didn't go to them. So you'd go to the church, and behind the church there was a free shop. And I'd
Wow.
just go in there and get my clothes for my children and take their old clothes. It was a perfect system. It was amazing. And
Yeah.
think of if they did have more op shops, more secondhand stores, think of the clothes you'd get in there. Versace, Armani. I know people with like these amazing brands in their cupboards that they wear once every now and then, you know. And like if you could take them to a shop and sell them for a certain price, and you could get some good deals, some amazing Italian brands.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you're going to buy a designer piece, what good is it going to be if it just sits in your wardrobe and you don't actually wear it? It's just for the tag, right?
Yeah,
I would much rather support a secondhand shop or a brand like yours where you have this sustainable mission at the core. Like that's so much more my vibe.
cool.
Yeah. So there is a quote on your website that I really loved. It said, inspiring the world to encourage ethical consumption. So I wanted to talk a little bit about inspiration. Who or what has impacted you the most?
Ooh, so um, it's funny, but there was this cartoon when we were young, Captain Planet. Do you know that
Yeah,
cartoon?
I do.
Yeah, that was like that must have had a massive impact on me. I reckon. You know, we weren't allowed to watch much TV, um, so seeing something like that, oh, when there's all these kids getting together with their magic rings and they're saving the world, and there's Gaia, like the Earth Mother, and yeah, that had a huge impact on me. So thank you to the creators of that cartoon, and I hope that there's more cartoons going on like that now for my children to watch. Um, and yeah, Coco Chanel definitely comes to mind. She took like uh, fabric that the fishermen were using as their clothing, and she turned it into like high fashion sportswear for women. So changing the status quo. Yeah, she's a definite inspiration. There was a book that I read at university called Cradle to Cradle. I'm pretty sure the guys who wrote it were architects, and yeah, like what they did with the Ford motor car building, the production building was incredible. Like they the sorry
No worries.
the warehouse where they were creating the cars was putting out all this dirty water. It wasn't like a safe place for the workers to work or anything. It wasn't like nice. And yeah, they just like redesigned it. I suppose Ford had heaps of money to invest in that. And they were, by the end of it, like putting out cleaner water than what was coming into the building, So, yeah, that was a huge influence, that book, Cradle to Cradle. How designers can choose like what things are made of, where things are made, how they're made, to really change like the impact that everything has on the environment around us. And one last thing was, while I was at university, I was looking into why people consume, like our psychology behind that. So I was looking at Jeffrey Miller's books on, he's an evolutionary psychologist, what has made us consume like this, over the years from when we were cavemen. It's always good to take things back to the beginning, to the simplest forms, to get the answers. And, like if women put on lipstick because having red lips is a sign of fertility. So it all comes to like actually just reproduction. That's the whole point, that we're all here. And that's why we consume. Guys, if they can afford it, buy these fancy cars because that shows that they can provide for a family. And that's the important thing that they need to show. But another important thing that women need to show is that they're caring. So, caring for the environment and buying sustainable items, that's something that we can work with, to work with the psychology of the consumers. Um, yeah, so Jeffrey Miller was a huge influence too with his writing. yeah, really interesting stuff.
Awesome. I'll have to check those out because I want to dive deeper now. And I love that like, your inspiration doesn't just come from one place, and that it's been a variety of things throughout your life. And it's almost like it's all kind of led up to this moment of you launching your own brand and being where you are now. So that's so great. I
Yeah.
love it. um, and I was also wondering because like you were talking about how like you sorry the work that you do to make these garments come to life, and you design, you pattern make, you cut and sew all of these garments. So what is it like to touch everything that is in your collection?
Oh, yeah, it's special, eh? Well, okay, first of all, it means that I don't have to then go and do quality control because I'm controlling the quality as I'm sewing. So, I mean, I have had interns come in and work with me and some other sewers, seamstresses, um, and sometimes they'll sew up half the garment and then I'll sew up the other half, and halfway through me finishing it off, I realize, oh, there's a hole there, so we have to undo it all, and so it cuts out all of that if I'm sewing it all up by myself. But also, when I'm sewing on my own and cutting out on my own, when I'm working on my own in my room, I have to be in a really good mind space because it's easy to let your mind wander to regrets or shitty things that you don't want to think about, but it just creeps in. So that's why I'm actually, while I'm sewing and working, I'm listening to podcasts to keep my mind active and to be learning at the same time, and listening to techno music, which is getting me working, getting me moving, getting the job done at a good time, at a good speed. And yeah, just trying to keep at a good energy level because I feel like people are then going to put this on their body, and I don't want them putting on something that is full of my regrets. I want them to be putting on something that's full of love and a really good attitude, and yeah, that's important to me.
Yeah, oh my gosh, and that brings like a whole new meaning to like intentional action, right? Like you're literally putting that energy into the clothing. That is so great. And I hope that the people who wear it feel that when they are like sporting these outfits.
Yeah,
I
I
love
hope so. I hope so much.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that was actually all of the questions that we had for you today, but is there anything else that you'd like to add that you want viewers to know?
Ooh.
Be about
um
you, about the brand.
oh, I don't know, like, some people see Emroce as just a brand, as just a company, and they forget that there's actually a person here. And a big part of my life is that I'm also a mum. And I know that there's a lot of other people, women out there and men, who are parents and trying to balance their work life or their own business with being a parent. And seriously, I think that being a parent is like the most important job that you have. I mean, it is really great for especially my 6-year old. She loves what I do. I can see that she's really taking it all in. My mom, she's trying to save the world. She writes me little adverts for my swimwear, and she's really proud of me, and she can see that she can do anything that she wants to creatively. But at the same time, like, getting heaps of orders and getting stressed out I can come in the house and be like, oh my gosh, the house is a mess, and that can have an impact on them too. So I suppose, like, yeah, just remember that, like, being a parent is the number one impact that you're going to have. You're changing the lives of two people or more, like in my case, two daughters, and they're going to go into the world and hopefully make a good change themselves. And yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say here.
No, I
Just to
love
try
it.
and find a balance,
You're
and
really enjoying your values into your children, and I think that's beautiful. And they get to watch you work and put out these products and do something to try and help make the world a better place. So I think that you're doing a great job on both the business front and the parenting front as well. I think it's amazing. And like super mom over here balancing all of that.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us today. Before we go, I do just want to make a quick call out because thank you so much for creating a special promo code for us. So we have GoodHuman in all caps, one word, for 20% off. Is that correct?
That's great.
Amazing. Well, that's so great. And what I love about the app is that we have these promo codes available there. So, and you can literally copy it right from the app and put it into the shopping cart on the website. So it's very little work to get that discount. And so, thank you again for joining us, both Emma and the viewers. If you would like to discover over 700 vetted brands like emroce and 200,000 products, download the GoodHuman app from the Apple App Store. And you can find discount codes for all of these other brands as well. And also be sure to follow emroce at emroce swimwear and GoodHuman at get_goodhuman, both on Instagram. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye bye.